All right, everybody, welcome back to Full Circle with Joyce. Thank you again for your company here this morning. And we now want to switch gears just a little bit and move on to our next topic. But before we do, very quickly, let me read out some of the other feedback that we have from the previous session. Good morning, Joyce, watching the show from Kiambu. Sometimes we feel like God is taking too long in answering our prayers, but for us who truly believe in Him, He will always be there for us. That's JMO from Kiambu. I have someone else here, Kagwathi Kamau from Eldoret, saying, Good morning, Joyce and fellow switchers. What an incredible way to start the week. Full Circle is a staple food in Eldoret. Oh my goodness, I've become more sick. I love it. And you say you love the show. God bless the entire team. Asante. Mwingine hapa anasema, God is the only love sustainer. Very true to that. I have a 14-year-old with some great wisdom here. Ramsey McKenna says, I'm a 14-year-old girl in Form 1. I always believe that in life there must be challenges. We have to take the challenges positively and don't have to blame our Almighty Father. God is always good and fair, and He always has a purpose in every pain that we go through. God can never give you any challenge you cannot overcome. So we should believe in God because He is approachable. Thank you very much for that. Ramsey McKenna, 14 years old. Well done to you, my dear. Very well done to you. All right. And finally here, Stacy says, you know what? God is intentional. That's the one thing we should know. And she's watching from Mombasa. Asante sana. Keep your feedback coming into 22999. Also on Facebook at Switch TV Kenya. Right now, though, let's switch gears and begin talking about what is the solution to divisive, tribalistic, corrupt, and expensive elections here in Kenya. If you're like me, you kind of just get bored when you hear when you start hearing about elections coming up, because it's just like ay. Well, here with us we have Ambassador Esther Waringa, who's the founder and president of Public Service Governance. Karibu sana to the show.
Thank you very much.
Now, of course, I think there are many people who feel like I do.
Yes.
Like we're pretty tired of Kenyan politics.
Yes.
It's been very selfish, you know, not people oriented at all. And we wonder if there's even a way out of sort of where we're at. I think our politics has also always been very greedy.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, tell me about public service governance, because you founded this. Is it an organization, an NGO? You founded this outfit
Yes.
to really try and address some of the challenges that you're seeing.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers. My name is Ambassador Esther Waringa, the founder and president of Public Service Governance. Public Service Governance is a new, enhanced, responsible, accountable system of governance that we are introducing in the Republic of Kenya. Considering the fact that every electoral period Kenya must birth IDPs, Kenya must go down economically, Kenya must birth tribalistic divisions. Right now, what we are seeing in the country as a result of the upcoming general elections in the next 2 weeks, politicians are almost forgetting that we have COVID-19 pandemic situation, which is very challenging, and they are throwing their weight behind 2022 elections. So, what is public service governance? Public service governance is a new way of doing things, a new way of birthing leadership. We are telling ourselves that there are so many ways of killing a cat apart from hanging it. There are so many ways of birthing leadership away from divisive, violent, tribalistic, expensive electoral processes in the Republic of Kenya. Okay. And in this regard, we are riding on an initiative that has already been cleared by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IBC, and the initiative is called Kenya Bila Uchaguzi Initiative.
So what does that, I mean, if I'm to translate that directly, Kenya Bila Uchaguzi means Kenya without elections.
Exactly.
So what's the idea to sort of just, how are we going to have
Thank you very
appointed?
much. Yes, I know the biggest question that Kenyans would have is that how are we going to learn government without elections? It's very possible. Therefore, allow me to share the new system of government that will be able to give services to the people of the Republic of Kenya without the elected representatives, without the politicians, without the political parties and all that. So how it's going to work is that we are birthing a system whereby we shall have ministries of government only. Because actually what Kenyans need on the ground, mashinani, is water, roads, energy, education, agriculture, that is food, and all that. These are the services that we need. We have nine ministries of government. We have the Ministry of Water. We are going to devolve the Ministry of Water from the national level. Then at the county level, we devolve further the Ministry of Water. At the constituency level, we shall have Directorate of Water. And then at the ward level, we shall reinstate those extension officers that we used to know before the MCAs came in, who represented the wards. So if it is education, we shall have the Ministry of Education at the national level. We devolve the Ministry of Education at the county level, so that where the governors sit, it will no longer be governors and their executives and their political cronies and all that. We will have the ministries of government domiciled in those directorates.
So no governors, no senators, no MPs,
Thank
no
you.
MCAs, no
Excellent.
women rep.
Yes.
No president. Is there a president?
Thank you. We will have a president who will equal to a chief executive. That means the country will run like a corporate governance. How to bring the presidency on board is that we will be establishing a governing council, an organ, the highest organ in decision making and in oversight authority of government, of public service government. And anybody who feels that they have the capability and capacity to be able to ride on such, to read such a system, they'll just submit their application. It's just a normal corporate entity way of doing things.
But who is selecting this board, and who is selecting the ministers and the devolved sort of functions within the counties?
Thank you very much. First of all those people who will be working in the ministries of government, at the national level, all the staff of the ministries of government will have to submit their application through the Public Service Board, which is actually, it's an organ already constituted by the current constitution. At the county level, the County Public Service Board, we will be in charge of recruitment. At the constituency, we will have the Constituency Public Service Board. We will not have the board at the ward level, because the extension officers will be staff of the ministries at the constituency level. Yeah, that's how it's going to work.
Is there not a fear, though, that some of the same issues that we face today, as far as people sort of, nepotism and people just getting their cronies into, offices would happen? I mean, when this is sort of the stakes of, I guess, 47 million people are narrowed down to, just a small Senate committee or a small committee that would then be responsible for choosing.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing with such kind of nepotism system, where people give their families, their cronies job and all this, is because we have lost moral standing of government. We have lost integrity. And of course, the system with a power of numbers, you can be able to manipulate it in any way possible. But now the system that we are bringing on board, the Public Service System of Government, PSG system, will ensure that anybody coming into leadership must be one of moral standing. And that is why the governing council, or the organ that will be tasked to vet these people and take them through interviews, must be people of high moral standing. People who know what it means to bring Kenya back to life. Because as we talk right now, the country is going down the drain. We are all aware of this. Therefore, we need people of high integrity, people with high moral standing, number one, people who merit qualifications. We are running away now from the power of rewarding cronies. You brought me this number of votes, so I'm rewarding you this. Whether you have capacity to deliver or not, you find yourself rewarded. So we are running away completely from that. So Kenyans, the power of your papers, the power of your integrity, the power of your experience, the power of your capacity to deliver, the power of selfless service to humanity is what we are looking for. A cabinet minister who will be able to sit in the office and know that they have been strategically positioned there because they are supposed to serve Mwananchi. Not a CS who is there because he's like, how many tenders am I going to get out of these ministries? How many of my family members am I going to employ? How much money am I getting out of this? So we must get away from that completely as a country. And that is why we are going to set the most powerful, most powerful, yes, governing council. And number two, a high moral, because I believe as much as we are experiencing high moral degradation in the country, and the country is subjected to so much corruption, let me tell you, we still have 2-3 people in the country that we can be able to identify, and we know them, we can see them, who can come together and be able to form the governing council and be able to even help us in the transition and even the execution of the public service
Let
system.
me ask you about how all this will actually come into being. You've mentioned getting some sort of clearance, you've said from IEBC.
Yes.
Does this require sort of a referendum, because we are a parliamentary or presidential system right now? So how is that going to work? Does it mean there needs to be now a referendum for Kenyans to vote on this being our new system?
Thank you. Yeah. Number one, we recently had a meeting with the IBC commissioners, and we were cleared, and even them being very impartial.
You were cleared to do what?
To correct signatures, because you have to get a green light from the Independent Electoral Commission as an initiative to correct signatures countrywide towards the constitutional change. Therefore, we are now on the ground correcting 1 million signatures. To our surprise is that Kenyans are saying tumechoka na uchaguzi. We have been waking up early, but the leaders that we elect on board have failed to deliver accordingly. So even Kenyans out there are feeling shortchanged. They are feeling that we wake up early, these people come treating us to political campaigns, we leave our market places, we leave our kitchens, we leave our whatever we are supposed to do, go to the campaign fields. They were given so much political jargon, but at the end of the campaign period, and when these people get into leadership, the Kenyans are not getting, the voter is getting nothing. So in that regard, we are receiving overwhelming support. We are currently correcting now 1.5 million signatures, and I can hear so many people whispering to me as the leader of this program that, Madam President, we are going to correct more than 10 million, because basically Kenyans are tired. That means almost every voter is throwing away their cloth, voting, throwing away their voting card and saying, no, what we need is water, education, we need good roads, we need food on the table. We are tired of discussing who do we put into what position. Nani atasimama wapi. Therefore, I would like to say that about the referendum, once the signatures have been corrected and submitted to IBC, IBC will take the necessary constitutional process and procedures from there, taking it to the county assemblies, then to the national parliament. Then after it is passed in the 2 houses of parliament, then it will proceed to the president to assent it into law. And before probably the president assents it into law, there are some clauses that probably may require public participation in form of a referendum. But really my dear, I'm very cautious about talking a referendum right now. Right now, the country is suffering as a result of the negative economic impacts of COVID-19. Talking about a referendum right now will be a tall order, considering the budgets that go into a referendum, considering the time, the resources as a country, instead of using this money and resources to feed Kenyans and to clothe Kenyans and to take care of our infrastructure development in schools so that our children can go back to school.
So is this a post-2022 agenda? Because obviously there's already talks of a referendum for something else.
It's actually not a 2022 agenda. Allow me to say that it can happen. Public service system of government can be executed before 2022. It does not have to go to 2022, and it can even be beyond 2022. So it's not pegged.
Let me ask you this, madam. How does that actually work? Because as you can see, the political tensions are so high.
Yes.
And this would require the president assenting to it. How is that supposed to happen when we're already seeing all this realignment specifically geared towards 2022?
Thank you. I want to remind Kenyans that Kenya does not belong to politicians. There is what we call the power of Wanjiku, the power of the ailing Kenyans, the power of Kenyans who are going through hard economic times. We have seen in other democracies where people are rising and saying, we don't want this president. Look at what happened recently in Burundi. Look at what happened in France, Venezuela. There are so many change of guards and systems as a result of the popular power, popular initiative power. That means today, if Wanjiku decides in the Republic of Kenya, we don't want elected representatives. Believe me or not, the 10% who constitute of the elected representatives will have no say. Because in fact, we have positioned them there, we, and we can equally recall them. That
Okay.
means at the end of the day, the buck stops with the population of or with the populace of the Republic of Kenya, the people who are going through the hard times. Once they decide,
Yeah.
that is it. If Kenyans say, we have given 10 million signatures to Kenya bila uchaguzi, we even don't need a referendum, we have spoken, that will be it.
I'm very curious about your background. How did
Thank
you
you.
find yourself here? You, of course, you go by ambassador.
Yes.
Just tell me a bit about your story and ending up here, because I think it's refreshing to
Thank you.
see a woman really speaking so passionately about politics, and I think that's something great. So I mean, I'm just very curious, and I think many of us would be, about your background and
Yeah.
how you even ended up in this place.
Thank you very much. Number one, women, allow me to start even with women, that we are objects of change. And we should never, women, take ourselves to be second-hand citizens in this country.
That's right.
Actually, women, let's rise up and form the next non-elective government. And I believe that, for example, if I strategically position myself there as the first CEO of to ensure that the program, the Kenya Bila Uchaguzi program, is fully implemented, I'll be like a mother. The 45 million Kenyans will be like my children. There is no way I will see a child sleeping hungry today in my house,
Okay.
in the village, and in the country. So,
How did you
who
get
is
here,
Esther?
though?
Thank
Yes.
you. Ambassador Esther Warenga. I've been working with the UN for about 10 years
Okay.
on strategic planning and actually touching on helping governments to streamline in terms of public service delivery. I've been in several governments, like the government of South Sudan during the height of war. I was right there trying to convince the key organs in government and the key people in government that yes, we can be able to birth a new South Sudan. And I was there until the comprehensive peace agreement process. I've been involved very closely with the government of Somalia and actually other suffering democracies in the continent, having worked now and being given a backup by the UN.
Yeah.
Therefore, after doing this very good work that was really tasking, especially Sudan, I think
Yeah.
Sudan was the most challenging of all countries that have been.
Okay. Let
the
me
UN
ask you.
accorded me the
The-
Distinguished African Leadership Award.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very well done
Thank
to you.
you.
But very quickly, as we wrap up here, Mutedia
Yes.
Mutiga, watching from Nairobi,
Yes.
he sent a very long SMS. Unfortunately, I won't be able to read all of it now because of time.
Yes.
But part of what he's saying is that we cannot do away with elections, as you're saying, because that's the only way that we can actually keep Mwananchi accountable.
Not
Which
really.
goes back to my previous question to you then, of how do we ensure that this, committee or the ones who are the board does not sort of revert to the usual crony tactics that we've been seeing? Who's going to keep them accountable?
Thank you. Number one, we are going to employ or establish a quality assurance and standards. And even before organ of government, and even before we execute that, number one, first of all, you see our motto, living for the sake of others. That is the motto of the incoming PSG government without elections. The moment we employ living for the sake of one another, the moment we employ moral standing in government, the moment we employ divine standards, what does God require out of us as leaders? Kama we ni kiongozi, if you are a CEO of an organization or a country, what does God require of you? The moment we develop that moral standing, then we are going automatically to fight the question that is, to address the situation that he's talking about.
Right.
Otherwise, Kenyans are living in fear because they think everybody is corrupt, everybody is, but there are some
Okay.
few remnants that have been left. And of course, we are going to preach the gospel of moral standing in government. The moment tunakushika wewe, trying to misappropriate 1 shilling of the government funds, let's not see, that's time we will not see what we are being treated to by, judicially you take a case and it is taking 10, 20 years. No, no, no.
Yes.
You just go home immediately.
Wow.
It will be no compromise because Kenya must breathe again.
All right.
Kenya must come back to life again.
Thank
and
you.
Kenyans must celebrate. And tulikuwa tunasema nini ililetwa na Mr. watajivunia kuwa wa Kenya kupitia public service government.
Ambassador Esther, thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
coming
dear.
on to the show today. Do you guys have a website if people want to follow
Yes,
your work?
we have a website, www.psggovernance.org.
Okay.
And also, those who would like to reach us and append your signatures, please call this number, 0720 925 867.
All right.
And kindly SMS will be the best. We will get to our offices, 0720-925-867. We would like to say that we are also encouraging Kenyans to join us, to be county coordinators, constituency coordinators, ward
All
coordinators,
right.
and help us correct signatures.
Yeah.
Please call that number. Allow me to do it the last time, 0720-925-867.
I can see
Thank
you're the communications director as well and the marketing director as well for PSG.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time. We do appreciate you. Kudos to you as well for stepping up to the plate and doing something about the Kenya we want to see. With that said, guys, we do need to take a break. Coming up next, I want us to switch gears then and just talk about what this pandemic has taught us. Perhaps this is one of the lessons about a different Kenya that we need. But anyway, 22999 is the SMS line. I'll see you at the top of the hour.